So good afternoon. So I'm Naziha Mestaoui. Actually, I was born in Brussels, not in Antwerpen, but today I'm living in Paris. And yes, I wanted just to start presenting myself. So I studied architecture. Today I work more as an artist, but since I'm a kid, I always had a passion for questioning our systems of reality, or belief systems. And one of my passion became quantum physics, strangely, but because, in fact, quantum physics questions our relationship with our reality. And we have a heritage, a common heritage, cultural heritage, which comes also from the Enlightenment years and has forged a vision of the world that is very materialist, based on hierarchy between different species, and based on separation. And the scientific revolution that happened 1 century ago with quantum physics changed the vision we have of our reality, because it describes everything as vibration, energy, and all elements are totally interconnected at the fundamental level. And those concepts can seem to be counterintuitive to us with our culture and our heritage, but it is very intuitive for cultures that didn't go through those Enlightenment years, that didn't have the influence of Descartes and Copernic. And it is, in fact, the condition of the most ancestral societies. And when I discovered that, for example, the tribes still live in a reality that is mostly immaterial, I immediately wanted to go there. So 5 years ago, I went to the Amazon, and that's how quantum physics brought me over there. And in fact, I wanted to think about those concepts, but not with an intellectual thinking, but really living it, understanding it from the inside with my senses, with my experience. So I left there, and I started discovering some of the tribes over there in the Amazon rainforest in Brazil. And of course, I learned a lot, and I discovered many things, and especially the fact that they understand themselves as being part of a network. So to them, there's no separation between themselves and nature. They are part of their own environment, and they understand the interdependency that exists between nature and themselves. In fact, they understand themselves as being nature, which we all are, in fact. And they also understand the physical material reality as only one layer of a broader reality that is mostly made of energy and vibration. And they have, for example, patterns and songs that describe the energy of a bird. So, for example, the pattern that you see here is called a chiruburu, and it's a pattern that symbolizes the eye of the bird. And when you wear that pattern, it means that you can see far, but they also have songs that bring the energy of that notion. And to me, it was also very interesting to see what are the physical traces of those immaterial layers that they perceive in their reality, and that leave some small signal in our physical reality. So I learned more about sacred songs, and I started to do a collaboration, and we maybe might have the video of the project that is called Sounds of Light. So it's a collaboration I did with so you can see it there. It's a collaboration I did with the shamans over there in the tribes. And the concept is really to give the possibility to see the invisible. So all my work is about connecting our technologies with the essential, our relationship with nature, our relationship with ourselves, with our senses. And what you actually can see here is a system based on cymatic. Cymatic is the science that studies the geometric shapes generated by sound in matter. So actually here the waves are directly generated by the song, by the voice, and those songs are cures. So they sing to cure people, and the idea is that you can see the energy coming out of the song. And as our body is made out of 70% of water, we see the reflection somehow, the echo of what is happening to us. And then I use the brain interface to analyze the brain activity of the shaman when he's singing, and also his emotions. And the concept there is to give the possibility to see the emotions. So it changes the color that is projected at the surface of the pool that is filled with water, and that has those ripples that come directly from the energy of the song. And that reflection shows somehow those invisible layers that are made tangible, visible, that come from emotion, energy, and all those layers that are part of our reality, but that we are disconnected from. And in this collaboration, I integrated also the work of the Indians from the tribe. So I brought some of them with me. There was a big exhibition in São Paulo 1.5 years ago. And I invited them to paint the same songs. So they made incredible drawings that describe the visions they have when they hear those songs. And the concept is really to mix different technologies, modern and ancestral technologies, to share the same concepts and to give the possibility to see the invisible. So this is one of the paintings they did. And as a matter of fact, that was the very first painting they actually did, and we managed to sell that painting to a collectioner, and we exchanged it for land. So today, the tribe has an additional land in exchange for their artwork. And we could also share the message that they are really contemporary. It's not something that comes from the past. Those people live today, and they still have their own culture, and they have a different way of perceiving our reality. But they don't come from the past. They are there today, and they can really teach us a lot of things. So I was also working a lot about nature, of course, when I was over there. And I learned also the relationship they have with trees, with nature, and their very horizontal vision of the different species. For example, for them, they see themselves as human beings, and they see other animals like animals, but they believe that birds, for example, see themselves like human beings, and they see human beings, men, like other animals. So it's a very horizontal vision. And in that vision, of course, they include trees, because trees to them are other living beings with intelligence, with a consciousness. And in fact, they have the capacity to communicate with trees, to exchange thoughts and ideas. So maybe we wait a little bit before starting that video. Thank you. So, because I just wanted first to explain where that project came from, because in fact, when I was over there, I really realized that for them, trees are other living beings, not just wood, not means for carbon compensation. And of course, trees also bring water to the water table, they clean the air, they bring biodiversity, all those things are true, but they are alive, and we depend on them. And I think it was also very interesting to bring that to us, questioning the relationship we have with nature, because I think it's one of the very central issue. We always see our reality and our relationship with other species in a very pyramidal vision. We are at the top of the pyramid, and we use what we can, that it's given to us from nature, to do whatever we need. And I think it is a vision that is our cultural heritage, but it might be questioned because we are part of an interconnected system and with a real interdependency. And for example, this pyramidal vision of species can also be questioned, for example, with the human genome. When it has been studied, we discovered that it had about 20,000 genes, when a rice seed has about 38,000 genes. So somehow the rice is more evolved than we are. So there's many questions about the hierarchy between the different species. And so all those questions and all those learnings that I had there in the tribe led me to have the will to share that vision through a project that I started 1 year ago in Paris for the opening of COP21. And if you want, you can put the video now. So it was a monumental project that involved all citizens from all over the world. It was projected on the Eiffel Tower, and all people could be part of it. So it was connected with a smartphone application. And the whole concept was to somehow connect art, technology, and nature, and give the possibility for each of us to be part of the solution through art. So what you can see there is the video mapping on the Eiffel Tower. People could leave, they could see that tree growing, and they could leave messages. So the Eiffel Tower was covered with all messages that people were sending from all over the world. So as I said, it was connected with a smartphone application that you could download. It's still on, in fact, it's still working. And with that smartphone application, you had to put your finger on the phone camera, your heartbeat was recorded, and gave birth to a virtual tree that was growing at the rhythm of your heartbeat. You're going to see a small video that is going to show that. And then you receive a rendezvous with your tree on the Eiffel Tower. And of course, you recognize it because you left a message. So as you can see, the tree is generated in real-time 3D, and in fact, it's exactly the same tree that is generated on your phone and the one that you're going to find on the monument. Then you leave a message, and then you receive the rendezvous with the monument, and you see it grow live. You also receive a small video of the moment when your tree was growing on the monument. And then for every virtual tree that has grown on the monument, a real tree is planted in a reforestation program. And the concept is that each of us has a real long-term impact. And we have 7 different reforestation programs on all 5 continents that always involve local population. We plant local species, and we follow the project during several years, being sure that it has a strong local environmental and social impact. So a little part on the technical installation, but maybe I'm not going to describe it too much because I think it's really the backstage of the project. What I can tell is that we were really lucky to have the Eiffel Tower during 6 nights, and we had more than 1,300,000 people being part of the project. More than 55,000 trees actually planted on those 7 different reforestation programs, and media all over the world. And so it was a project that really had a very good start, and it was an amazing experience. And today we are working on the international tour for the project, and the concept is to bring it all over the world. And the way it started is, as I wanted it to be a project that was coming also from people and was engaging citizens, we started it as a crowdfunding campaign. So it was a bit more than 1 year ago. We started a crowdfunding campaign, and the concept is also that those projects today can come to life through the network, through people. And we're not anymore into a top-down society, but into a bottom-up society. And that's also somehow the way those tribes live, in a very networked society where there's not one head, but a network of people, a network of species. And that's what I wanted to bring also with the project, this idea that the project was coming from the network, from the people, and I would come to life thanks to the mobilization of all citizens from all over the world. So yes, as I said, it was absolutely amazing. And to me, it also shows kind of a paradigm shift of our society, coming from let's say, a central powered system into another vision of reality where all citizens can get involved and have a strong long-term impact for the next generations. And that was what the project was telling about. So thank you very much.
What a lovely, lovely work that you do. And
thank you.
Thanks to Etienne Verbist. He came across first time, and he shared that with me and said, "Yeah, we got to get her to the to Crowdsourcing Week Europe." And thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Should we open a few questions?
Yes, of course.
Is that okay? Questions for Naziha. I mean, you've done crowdfunding, crowdsourcing all the way. It's like, this is an amazing project, and it's. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah. So, how are you finding it with having people being maybe cynical around this because they're seeing it as being tree huggy? And have people seen it as being tree huggy, or have they just kind of like opened their hearts to it? Because that's one of the things that will be a question around something like this. Because I love it personally, but maybe I'm a bit of a hippie in a suit. But
in fact, that's the beautiful thing with art, is to me the fact that, of course, with that kind of artwork, I don't want to speak only to people who are already engaged and who already are convinced about what I say. It's something that is very open and that invites many people just to get involved into that question, into that artwork. And from the very beginning, I wanted to have a project that for example, the entry door could be the fact of seeing your name on the Eiffel Tower projected on, as something big. And so it might be, the engine might be the ego, not the heart. But it's okay, because then when you enter into the project and you understand what it is about, and you understand that actually you've seen your name projected on the Eiffel Tower, but in the end there's a real tree planted, then you start, it plants the seeds. And that was my aim since the very beginning, to have many different entry doors that could be different ways for people to enter. Like, for example, people who have a passion for technologies and they would enjoy understanding how the application was working and creating that 3D tree and interacting with the tree and changing it, etc. But that's another entry door, and all those entry doors are possible. But in the end, when you understand the entire process, it shares the message, even if it is not what you wanted in the beginning.
Please.
Thank you so much for an amazingly beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
I cried. I believe that we're all independently dependent on our interdependence, which to me is very much what you're saying here. And I live in British Columbia now. Don't be fooled by the accent. I moved over 16 years ago. The issue around First Nations is a big topic in Canada and the whole of North America and South America, around the world indeed. And I'm just referring to that last comment. I think that there is a lot of the world are looking back at medicinal practices and ways that Aboriginal First Nation communities did things, and reflecting and saying, oh, those ways did work. And actually, the way the economy works now is the opposite to what people used to do, and people used to work in sustainable ways, and we can learn so much from that. So I was wondering what it is that you are doing now into the future. What's next?
In fact, it connects directly to you, because the next location for One Heart, One Tree is going to be Canada, Montreal, for the 375th anniversary of the city. It's going to be on the Olympic Stadium. In fact, it's kind of confidential, so I'm not supposed to say it. But
No, it's not.
too late.
We're going to share it right away.
But no, in fact, I'm still, there's so many projects I'm working on, but one specific is I'm working in collaboration with a laboratory, a scientific laboratory that is specialized in plant biocommunication. So actually they use plants to as sensors to know, for example, the rate of humidity, the heat, pollutants in the air, etc. So just to have basic information about the environment. But what they did, which is really interesting, is that they managed to analyze the electromagnetic waves that correspond to specific messages that are sent by the plant. So I want to detour that use of the plants to actually create an artwork that gives us the possibility to see what plants are saying. So, and to establish a kind of a visual communication between plants and humans, because in fact plants communicate with us all the time, but we can't really see it.
But we don't.
We might, some of us do, but most of us don't hear what they say. So what is amazing is that the Indians, they really communicate with plants, but actually when someone, for example, is sick, they might go to a tree and they're going to ask the tree what they need to use as a treatment for that person. And they're going to receive a vision, like a dream, a daydream, about what plant they need to use, where they can find it, how much they have to use it, how to prepare it. And that's not something that they knew. That's something that comes to us like in a dream vision. And that's how they communicate with trees, like almost telepathy.
And how amazing you're bringing this through arts. And this is what a great way to really communicate and to really discover what Mother Nature is. One more question, perhaps. Gentleman right there, can you hand the microphone down there? A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful presentation. I love the fact that you're trying to visualize the plant technologies, because plant technologies are more powerful than all the technologies we've perhaps discussed the past couple of days. So, yeah, big respect for visualizing that and going that way, because it's completely neglected in our society. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
But very often we oppose views. For example, in our system, we would oppose a connection between man and nature and connection between man and technology. And most of us don't even understand that plants or, for example, tribes have technologies that are absolutely amazing, but of course it's totally invisible. So you don't have access to it, and nobody can actually see it except if you experience it for yourself. So, of course, what I try to do is connect those three axes and create a kind of combination of the relationship between man, nature, and technology, not opposing those concepts, but that's the reason why I used projection mapping on the Eiffel Tower and application, because to me, there's no necessary opposition between our technologies and nature. Once we understand that we need to question the relationship we have with nature, then we might do a good use of our technologies. But first, we maybe need to question that relationship and to go deep into that understanding before knowing what to do with our technologies. But they definitely can help us reconnect with nature if we wanted to. It's just our technologies are just the extension of our consciousness. So let's bring it where it makes sense.
Very good point. Very good point. Naziha, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. He's a little...
The chocolat.
Yes, thank you.